My name is Kevin, and I recently inherited an old Victorian house from an uncle I barely knew. I was told to be careful with the items left in the attic, especially one particular mirror. It looked antique, beautifully carved, with twisted wooden patterns and a blood red tint to the glass. A note taped to the back read only, "Do not look, ever." Naturally, I laughed it off. Just another creepy heirloom in a dusty attic. I moved the mirror down into the guest bedroom because why not? It gave the room an eerie, cool vibe. Perfect for photos. That night, I didn't sleep. The air felt heavier than usual. Still, I chalked it up to nerves from the move. Things started small. At night, I'd hear tapping, always from the direction of the mirror. Then whispers. Faint at first, but slowly growing clearer. They weren't in English. They weren't human. One morning, I found deep scratches on the wall opposite the mirror, like claw marks. Long, furious lines carved into the plaster. I checked the mirror. Nothing. Just my reflection. But the red tint, it was growing darker. I tried to convince myself I was imagining things. Lack of sleep, overactive imagination. But then I saw him. Not in real life, only in the mirror. A shadow behind me. Horned, grinning. I spun around. Nothing there. Looked back. Still there. Closer. I covered the mirror with a thick sheet and nailed it in place. That night, the banging started. The wall shook. The whispers became screams. In the morning, the sheet was on the floor. The glass was cracked, but still holding, and etched into it in blood-red streaks were 3 words. He's not dead. Last night, I made the biggest mistake of my life. I stared into the mirror for too long. I didn't blink. I don't know why. I just couldn't look away. And then, he blinked. My reflection blinked. After me. Then it grinned. I stepped back, but my reflection stayed still. I screamed, tried to look away, but my eyes wouldn't obey. The thing inside the mirror grabbed me. No hands, no touch, just pulled me in like gravity collapsing. Now I'm trapped, watching through the glass as he walks in my skin. He goes outside, talks like me, smiles like me, but every night he comes back to the mirror to watch me scream. Last night, someone answered him. Not me, not Kevin, someone else. A hand emerged from the darkness behind the glass, blackened, wet, and twitching, and tapped back. 3 times. I tried to scream. I couldn't. My throat was full of glass splinters. He looked at me, tilted his head, smiled again, then whispered, "We're not alone anymore." Since then, I've seen more movements. In the reflections. Not mine. Not his. Sometimes when I blink, the reflection doesn't follow. It stares back at me with a wide, open mouth, like it's silently screaming something I can't hear. And last time I tried to look away, my body in the reflection didn't. It kept staring, smiling. It's learning. It's growing stronger. It doesn't want to stay behind the mirror anymore. It wants to switch. And I think it's already tried. Jacob's breathing quickened as he stepped deeper into the hallway. The walls were no longer made of old wood. They had transformed into something organic, like pulsing black flesh veined with a dim red glow. The lights flickered overhead, casting long, jagged shadows that seemed to twitch when he wasn't looking. From behind him, the whispering grew louder. "Why did you come back? You were warned." He turned sharply. Nothing there. The shadows, however, had changed shape. What had been a coat rack earlier now looked like a hunched figure. He pressed forward, feet echoing against the fleshy floor. The door to his brother's old room appeared at the end of the hallway, barely ajar, leaking an unnatural green glow. His hand trembled as he reached for the knob. Suddenly, a child's voice, clear and cold, spoke behind him. "Don't go in there." He spun around. A girl stood in the hallway, pale, eyes entirely black, wearing a red dress soaked in something dark. She smiled, revealing rows of tiny, sharp teeth. "He's not your brother anymore." Jacob stumbled backward, away from the girl in the red dress. She didn't follow. She simply stood there, staring, smiling, and like she was waiting for something. He turned back toward the glowing door at the end of the hallway. The green light now pulsed slowly, like a heartbeat. With a deep breath, he pushed the door open. The room inside was cold, far colder than the rest of the house. The walls were covered in pages, drawings, symbols, words written in what looked like dried blood. The floor was littered with broken toys, scattered bones, and melted candles still flickering with blue flame. In the center of the room sat a figure, back turned, hunched, whispering. Jacob's voice cracked. Daniel? The figure stopped whispering. Slowly, it began to rise. Its movements were wrong, jerky, like a puppet being pulled up by invisible strings. The head rotated around, too far, too smoothly, revealing a pale face with hollow sockets where the eyes once were. The voice that came from its mouth wasn't human. You shouldn't have looked behind you. Jacob froze. The voice echoed around him, layered as if multiple mouths had spoken at once. The room seemed to grow darker with every breath he took. The pages on the walls began to flutter. Though there was no wind, the candles dimmed to dying embers. Then, the lights went out completely. A cold hand grabbed Jacob's wrist. He screamed, pulling away, but another hand wrapped around his ankle. Then another, and another. They emerged from the walls, thin, gray, eyeless figures, like shadows that had peeled themselves free from the surfaces around him. Limbs too long, mouths sewn shut, dozens of them dragging themselves toward him, surrounding him. He turned toward the door, but the girl in red was standing there now, blocking the exit. She whispered, You looked back, and now you belong to them. Jacob tried to run, but the shadows pulled harder. His feet lifted off the ground. His body was dragged into the circle of blue candles, into the center of the room, into the place where Daniel had once sat. Now he was in the circle. Now he was whispering. And the door slowly closed. The hallway was now breathing, not metaphorically. The walls were rising and falling, pulsing with a rhythm like lungs gasping for air. Ethan's skin prickled as he stepped forward, the old wood groaning under his feet like it was trying to warn him. He reached the door to the basement. It wasn't locked anymore. Slowly, he pulled it open. A rank, earthy stench spilled out, thick like wet soil mixed with rotting meat. He covered his nose, took a deep breath, and stepped inside. The stairs creaked. Something was breathing down there. Not fast or frantic, slow and calm, like whatever waited below had all the time in the world. He reached the bottom. The single light bulb hanging from the ceiling flickered violently. And then everything went dark. Ethan! A voice whispered his name directly into his ear. He spun around. Nothing. Just pitch black. And then the red glow returned. From the far corner of the room, two glowing crimson eyes ignited like coals hovering in midair. Ethan stepped back, his heart now racing uncontrollably. Who are you? He shouted, voice cracking. The eyes blinked, then something moved with them. A massive shadow, hunched, inhuman, began to crawl forward, its long limbs dragging across the concrete with an awful scraping sound. Each step forward made the lights above flicker violently until the light exploded. Now there was only red. The demon's face revealed itself, twisted, angular, teeth like broken glass, horns curving outward like branches, and the same red that burned in its eyes leaked from its mouth. I told you, it hissed. Don't look behind you. And Ethan realized the voice hadn't come from the front. It came from directly behind him. He turned around and saw something identical staring him down inches from his face. There were two. Ethan screamed, stumbling backward between the two demons, both identical, both grinning. But only one moved, the one behind him. It lunged forward, arms bending the wrong way, joints cracking, face stretching into an impossible smile. Ethan turned to run, but the other one was already in front of him. There was no escape. They spoke in unison, voices layered like shattered glass. Now, you're one of us. And everything went black. When Ethan opened his eyes, it was daylight again. His room, his bed, silence. Had it all been a dream? He stood up, dizzy. His throat was dry and his ears rang. He walked to the mirror above his desk. But when he looked into it, his reflection didn't move. Instead, it grinned and whispered, Don't look behind you.